Okay, TCP Nation, welcome to the show again. I'm sure I'm going to record some intro prior to this, and now I basically say the same thing. So they got to hear, hey, TCP Nation, welcome to the show 2 times in a row. That's what my listeners are used to. We've got a couple of guests that I'm excited for everybody to get to meet, to talk to hear their stories, and to hear about how they're trying to protect farmland in America. And does it need protecting? It was kind of cool to me to hear some of the information that it does. We'll pause a second.
13th, 2025. Be sure to visit booth 647 to connect with the TSCRA team about the 2025 convention.
All right, we're back. They got done. We're at the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association convention, so there is some announcements they'll make over time. But so, ladies first, Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and just tell them real quick who you are and where you came from.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having us. I am Sarah Fulton-Smith. I am a 7th-generation Texan. I currently live in Denton, Texas. I'm the Texas Director for American Farmland Trust, and I've been in this role for about a year now. American Farmland Trust started their Texas program when I came on board a year ago, and so I have been getting that off the ground for the last 12 months.
Awesome. Thanks for that. 7th generation. Haven't I heard that nothing ever makes it past 3 generations, like in the farming world?
Well, that's interesting. So my family does not have a 7th generation farm. My grandfather...
Well, you said 7th generation Texas.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I wish we had a 7th generation farm.
Yeah.
My mom grew up near Fredericksburg, and her father raised cattle and sheep, and he passed away kind of young at 65, and there was not a person to take on that ranch or keep the operation going. He had all daughters that had young children at the time, and so that land slowly got divided over time. But my parents they had different careers, but they always had the goal of like having their own piece of Texas. So as soon as they could, they bought some land 25 years ago now out in Wise County and have slowly made that their homestead.
Awesome. Well, that's a cool story. We'll explore it a little more after we get to meet Jacob. All right, Jacob. Damn it. You're not a Texan.
I am
How
not
does
a
that
Texan.
happen?
I
Actually,
raise cattle.
not everybody loves Texas as much as I do, right? I've been selling products all over the U.S. and really internationally as well. And I always just think everybody loves Texas, but that's only because I'm a Texan. So don't let me put you off by that. Actually, I really appreciate you coming to the show, sitting in the chair, and sharing your expertise with us. So, Again, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from.
Yeah, so I did spend some time in Texas. I was in the Air National Guard through the Air
Hey,
Force.
thanks for your service.
Yeah.
I did see the veteran sticker there. I was going to ask you about that.
It's in San Antonio, Wichita Falls, Texas. So, spent some time here. But currently live in Virginia. That's where I've been from for quite a while now. My wife and I, we've got 4 kids, and we're on her family's operation. So her grandfather purchased it back in 1951, and we're doing what we can to keep it going. I work full-time for American Farmland Trust as our senior technical livestock and grazing specialist. I've been with AFT for almost 5 years now, and it's been a great journey. My wife and I, we background kind of high-risk stocker calves by 3-4 weights, put about 100, 150 pounds on them, and then we also have a direct marketing business where we sell beef, pork, and chicken.
So where does everybody go to buy that directly from you?
I missed that. What was it?
Oh, where does everybody go to? This is kind of an interesting thing because it's loud in my ear, but you can't hear it. So where does everybody go to buy that direct
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we sell
and
mostly in quarters, halves, and wholes on the beef. So they come to our place.
Okay, so it's not a website or something.
We do have a website, and they can put their deposits down online, make sure they don't back out on us. But we've kind of we haven't ever done a farmer's market, working a full-time job. Don't have time to go out on Saturdays and sit there. We got to actually be in production. And then the chicken and the pork we sell there off the farm. People can order it online and come pick it up. But in comparison to a lot of folks that have customers go to the processor or the locker to pick up the beef, we like for them to come to our place, bring their kids, go out, play, experience it, and we feel like they get way more value than just the meat itself.
Preach. Preach, brother, preach. That's the challenge I think we have in front of us as people interested in sustaining agriculture, farmland, the food production system in America, is getting those kids that experience, because we all kind of live with these opinions. Well, I have a lot of opinions that come because I was raised on a ranch. I hunt animals. I've ate meat that I harvested, slaughtered, killed. These
Right.
words, I mean, some of it's a bit of a delicate dance, so you're presenting these truths in a way that somebody can kind of accept them and don't immediately run away. But I love the idea that you're having the kids on the farm, and so they're starting to make that association that, hey, this good food, this high quality nutrition I get to partake of, this is where it comes from.
Right.
Jacob, his family, they raise it. So that's a really cool insight.
Helps that we've got the kids there too. They're number one tour guides. So I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and she gets in there and she starts talking to them and takes the kids and shows them around, shows them all the animals. And so we homeschool our kids. My wife does a great job with that, and I think having that exposure, for them to get out there and do some public speaking, they always talk about educating our consumer, but really it's just providing them the opportunity to experience what we experience every day, so that they can learn to appreciate it. But we want them to appreciate it, but not necessarily move out to where we're at, because we don't need any more pressure for development. So we like for them to drive an hour and a half from where they currently live, pick up their meat, spend a little time, and then kind of go back
You
home.
must be an expert in this podcast thing. He segued right to what we want to talk about, is this urban sprawl. I was talking to somebody earlier. I said, we kind of did this pre-interview and got to know each other so we could come to this conversation with a little, just to make sure we stay focused on some of the real topics and important issues that American Farmland Trust is dealing with, is participating in. Did you say 2,000 acres of land disappear from farmland production daily?
Daily in the United States.
I can't believe that. It's like people don't even how could you lose 2,000 a day and not be out of land? Well, we've got a whole lot of land.
True. In Texas, so our American Farmland Trust does a lot of research and spatial analysis, and our Farms Under Threat research showed that Texas is expected to lose 2.2 million acres of farmland by 2040. Yeah. So that is a good 2% of the land that we have in production.
And that will just...
It's hard to wrap your brain around.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the other piece that I perceive, you know way better than me. To me, once it's out, it's out.
Forever.
It ain't coming back.
Exactly. And worse than that, like 75% of the land that's expected to be lost by 2040 is our most productive farmland. And so we really feel...
You mean people aren't going out and buying desert out there in West Texas?
Yes, exactly. It's flat, it's productive, and it's easy to access. And so it's very desirable for development. And unfortunately, just like you said, once you destroy that soil and that natural resource and you cover it up with concrete, it is not coming back to ag production. Yeah. And so then we have pressure. Then we have pressure on the land that's left in production to make up for that loss and to produce more and more agricultural products on the land, putting more pressure on our natural resources.
Yeah. So in the jobs that y'all do each and every day, let's walk the listeners through it a little bit. So Jacob's got a certain role. Sarah, you've got a certain role. What do those look like? So I'm a farmer and rancher. Do I join American Farmland Trust? How does it work?
That's a good question. So we do have a membership. It's more for people that just want to be supportive of the work that we do. So I might just back up a second and say that, our mission is to save the land that sustains us. And we do that by protecting farmland, promoting sound farming practices, and keeping farmers on the land. And so we, as an organization, do more things than we could fit in an hour-long podcast, right? But what I've been doing in my daily job, if you want to hear about my day-to-day, is figuring out what AFT does and how that's relevant to the Texas context. I think that, the agriculture in Virginia, where Jacob is, the agriculture in the Midwest, in California, does not look like what agriculture looks like in Texas. And so the programs can't be exactly the same. It's not just a cut and paste. We really have to make sure that the programs that we bring here are tailored to meet the needs of Texas farmers and ranchers and the unique landscape that we have. And so I've really spent the last year trying to figure out what that looks like. Where are there places where there are tons of people already doing fantastic work in this space in Texas? We have a lot of wonderful organizations to partner with. So are there situations where AFT can be sort of an umbrella and lift up those efforts that are already going on and make them more impactful? And also, are there gaps that we need to fill? And so I'm honestly still in that exploration phase. I think one of the first things that we're getting started that I'm working on right now is this regenerative grazing project, and we're calling it the Texas Grazing Network. So we're launching that right now. We just hired the manager for that initiative, and so a lot of our daily work is getting that up and running and planning for what that's going to look like. And Jacob's working on that project on a national level, and so he can fill us in on some of the technical details for that too.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Just so there's going to be people listening to this conversation that says, that sounds like I could get money. Is that right?
In some instances, we do provide financial and technical assistance. We provide a lot of technical assistance, and we help connect producers to financial resources that AFT may not provide, like through USDA and NRCS. But we do have a couple of a micro grant program where we literally just give grants to producers when they have a struggle or a problem that they, have a financial barrier to implement, and that's called the Brighter Future Fund. And so we do have a project and a program where we provide that.
Well, okay, so sometimes free money sounds good. Well, maybe all the time. But in fact, I don't know many farmers and ranchers that want it free. They want the resources so they can build the life that they can dream of and think of. Jacob, what is this regenerative grazing thing we're talking about? Are we talking about rotational grazing? Maybe explain it from a more technical perspective.
Yeah, certainly. So there's all kinds of grazing systems that have been out for a while. I mean, you've got your continuous grazing where you're pretty much set stock. Those cows have the ability to go back and graze forage that they've already recently grazed. And then you've got, adaptive grazing. You've got mob grazing, intensive. I mean, there's so many different words that have been coined by several different people. But when we look at regenerative, and a lot of people want to compare the differences between sustainable and regenerative, and the way I try to explain it is, if something is sustainable, you're maintaining it at the current state, versus when we look at regenerative, you're actually improving, you're reinvigorating. And when we talk about soil health, that's where a lot of folks go, and we think about carbon and sequestering carbon and organic matter and water holding capacity, all these things that we talk about. But honestly, it can be taken even broader than that when we talk about the viability of an operation, how profitable they are you regenerating the next generation to come back to that operation? And so through what I've been managing in Virginia has been the Sustainable Grazing Project. And in that, we've taken a holistic approach where we look at providing business technical assistance to producers. We've brought in like Dallas Mount from Ranching for Profit, who's been doing some workshops for our producers. And we've got Alan Williams that comes in and talks about the soil health stuff and cover crop grazing. And so really just taking a multi-pronged approach and doing that through peer-to-peer learning, mentor networks. We found that producers are able to really open up to their peers and discuss maybe some of the struggles and challenges they're having with adopting some of these new practices. But also, I think being able to share wins, too, when things do go right. We need to be able to kind of get together and have a beer and discuss it over some good food. And so we've kind of used that as a foundation for this new Climate Smart project that we've got going on. It's a $30 million project over the next 5 years, funded by USDA. and that's taking place in Texas and Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. So we're really excited about it. And like I said, there's pieces in there that look at soil carbon and the potential for revenue coming in from carbon credit markets, which there's a bunch of hype over that right now. Some folks are for it, some might not be for it, but our project is going to be validating a lot of the claims that folks are making around that. Also, the mentor networks, training those mentors to where they can be effective at helping producers take it to the next level. And then the real big piece of this that I think is going to have a huge impact on producers is helping with data collection, on ranch, and leveraging that data to help your operation be more profitable. So we're partnered up with Integrity Beef and partnered up with AgriWeb, Indigo Ag, Farmer Veteran Coalition, Freedom Heirs Foundation. I mean, we've got a ton of partners on this project, and we're super excited about.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to high-five the leadership at American Farmland Trust because y'all are a couple of smart cookies. You just know what you're up to. You're passionate about the things you're doing, and that gives me excitement and me hope for what you're going to be able to accomplish. I think about the million different grazing options that are out there. I was raised with just continuous grazing. Basically, turn them out, make sure you're not overstocking it. Yeah, they're not going to eat every bit of grass, but that means they're leaving some for later. You got some standing hay over the winter and this kind of thing, which is easy, really. I mean,
Yeah.
Now you start rotating them, then all of a sudden you got to just take a little different mindset to the labor required. So all of those things are what you're dealing with, or the things you've got to have conversations with these producers about.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I think that that's a really good point. There's a perception that if we are, I don't know if there's a perception. I feel maybe there's a perception that if we're pro-regenerative grazing, then we're anti-continuous grazing. And it's not that simple, right? Every producer has to do what makes sense for their personal situation and their operation. And so I think what's really nice about this program is that we want to meet every producer where they're at. Yeah. If they're already doing the thing and they are a great example, then we want to engage with them as a mentor and train them up in other areas so they can be even more successful, and then they can pass their knowledge on to the mentees. And if they've been doing the same thing for 40 years and they just heard something at the TSCRA convention about regenerative agriculture and they want to know more, we want to talk to them too. That doesn't have to be okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to change everything all at once.
Life doesn't work like that.
It can be this very gradual
figure
continuum.
It out a little
and we
while.
want to talk to all those folks. If they're already doing it and they know they could do it better, or if they're just getting started, or if they don't, they just have questions. I think it's not a prescription. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a conversation. And we just want to help them navigate that conversation.
Yeah. So we're having a conversation on the Cowboy perspective that people are going to listen to. That's what I love about podcasts. It's this evergreen content. It's going to stay out there for people to access, and we're not able to dive very deep. But what I wanted my listeners, the people who pay attention to hear Sarah and Jacob and say, okay, this American Farmland Trust is a place I can go for information and I can go for help and I can engage with. And y'all have done a great job of validating your understanding. You know what you're talking about. Jacob, very specifically, you're actually doing it in real life. Sarah, you've been in Texas for this part of the country. So everybody, we can trust them. If you want to know the information, kind of go. We'll put links in the show notes to American Farmland Trust, and so you can go explore those programs, get in contact with these folks, and potentially sustain your legacy, which I think of it like that. My land, my legacy is in these lands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so, I mean, it is attractive when the developer comes and says, I want to pay you some ridiculous amounts of money for this land.
I love that.
How do we battle that?
Yeah, I love that you said that because I think that we are American Farmland Trust, and a lot of people, or a lot of land trusts, just focus on the land protection piece, and that's putting easements in place, keeping the land in agriculture forever, and that's not all of what we do now, right? Like this, we haven't talked about that yet so far, but if the land is more sustainable, more productive, more profitable, then it's also more likely to stay in agriculture. And so that's a really important piece of that protecting farmland component. And so I love, that was a perfect way for me to put that plug in, but I love that you made that connection, that it's helping you live out your legacy the way that you want to see your land in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say, a second ago, you're talking about, the grazing, and the way I see it is when we're talking about losing 2,000 acres a day, and having to ramp up production on what land we do have left, that's where that more intensive grazing comes into play, because rather than going out and finding more land, which is really, really hard, no matter where you're at in the country.
And expensive.
To either buy or lease, it's actually easier to invest that time and those resources to develop out fencing, water infrastructure, and be a little bit more intensive about rotating, resting your pasture or range land so that it grows back better, captures what water you do get. I know Texas, y'all don't always get near the rain that we get here in Virginia, but you got to capture what you do get.
Yeah, if the soil doesn't grab it and hold on to it, it just runs to the ocean, eventually. And that's a trick, having the forage on the land and the roots in the soil and the microorganisms in the soil. That is such a very dynamic thing.
Yep.
Now, I'm the kid that grew up thinking cattle was what we produced. That's a lie. Farmers and ranchers, or at least ranchers, they produce grass. Mm-hmm. And cattle just happen to be great converters of grass to nutritious protein and many other amino acids and things that we need. So if that's the first time you've ever heard that, that's the more true statement about ranchers. Like, I'm this cowboy and I think about cowboy hat. No, I'm horses and cows. The fact is, without the grass, without the land, there ain't no cowboy, horse, ranch, any of this stuff. So it's super, super important what y'all are doing. Big thumbs up. Okay, so now, just because I want to, I want to ask each of you to tell me some kind of a story that represents your cowgirl perspective, your cowboy perspective in life, that you've learned from either your grandparents, your grandma, some mentor, your wife, your kids, whatever it is. I promise if you'll just, and we don't have to do this right away. Like, there's no pressure. If you need to take a minute or two to think about it, we'll fill the air with something else. But I'd love to get a story from Sarah that's a cowgirl perspective in your mind, that thanks to these perspectives, you're better, or you have a understanding of what it's about. And you too, Jacob. So either one of you have one that comes to mind quick?
This is my life, so I don't need any time to think about it. I think that the biggest thing that I've learned, I'm sorry, I'm like losing my voice out of nowhere. The biggest thing I've learned from my experiences is that farmers care deeply about the land. And I grew up with horses. I used to train horses for a living. I'm also a soil scientist. I'm connected to the land in many ways. I ran my own farm in Maryland and had my horse training business there. After getting my soil science training and working in DC on policy about agriculture, I was able, as a farmer, to try to implement a lot of the things that I had been advocating should happen on the land, right? And realizing, anecdotally, I knew that it was hard, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're doing it yourself, you really know that it's hard, because you're the one that's out there working the land, every morning. And when you're running a new small business, you can't afford to pay other people to do it for you, and so you're doing it yourself, right? And while they're not cows, I was also a grass farmer, because I needed to feed my horses, and I didn't want to buy hay if I didn't have to, you know. So I think that really helped me solidify through my experiences this just appreciation that farmers are the best stewards of their own land, ranchers, farmers, whatever, that they are doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And the more that we can do to empower them and lift them up and help them, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah. I mean, some of this policy presentation or selling to Congress, and I don't know exactly what that's like. I've never done it, but it all sounds really good when you're up there selling it, but once you get on the farm and you're now trying to implement it, we got to always draw this thing together. So the policymakers and the policy, advocates are also, because I'm hearing about prescribed burning and this kind of thing. Well, you try to talk my dad into that. He's like, I mean, he doesn't say you stupid SOB, but that's kind of what he thinks. It's like,
Yeah.
we don't want fire. Anyways, that's just an example. It's not the best example, but it's one that I think paints that picture of there's a certain barrier also in the mind of producers, and that's all just kind of that dynamic truth.
But
So-
first acknowledging that they do know their land best, that I have the same conversations with my father. They have 700 acres now. I almost have my PhD in soil science, and he doesn't want to listen to
Yeah,
anything,
sure.
So-
He got his PhD through the School of Hard Knocks and time on task. They say how to be great at something is just time on task.
Yeah.
Well, he's basically had 24/7 time on task in the real world.
Yeah, I told Jacob earlier, I did get him to plant oats this winter for the horses, so that was a big win that we have some annual forage in there.
Okay, real quick, what kind of horses were you training?
So I do dressage, so warm bloods.
Oh, yes.
Not cow horses, but
Well, hey, but I
still-
think a lot of the cow horse stuff today comes from dressage.
Oh, reining and dressage are, very, very closely related.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure both equally addictive. I still ride, but it's not my full-time gig
So
anymore.
English saddle mostly?
Mhm.
There you go. See, I don't even know if I could stay on one of those things.
You could handle it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure.
right. It's like anything. You don't know you can do it until you do it.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, what's your cowboy perspective?
On life as a whole. Is that
Yeah, life
Yeah.
as a whole, or
Life as a
any
whole.
one particular thing you remember from your childhood or of recent times, grandma, grandpa, dad, mom. Like my example is this. I'll pick one quickly. Dad had a busted sewer line under our pier and beam house when I was a kid, and we didn't call a plumber. Me and him crawled under there and fixed it, and that's nasty work you don't want to have to do. That's kind of a cowboy perspective. Another way to look at it is the cowboys are riding out to the pasture, and kind of the old mentor of the group rides up to the young guy and says, it's like, picture this 30-degree morning, 4 a.m., pitch black, and he trots up next to him and says something like, what's too hard for most men is just right for me. And that's just planting a seed that it's going to be tough. You're good, you can handle it. So I don't know, you got anything like that?
I don't know if anything in one in particular. I'm a first-generation producer, so it's all been hard, honestly. I guess every operation is hard in its own right, but I grew up in suburban Maryland. Dad was military, but I always had a passion for agriculture. I got bit by the bug at an early age, and so we finally got able to move to rural Virginia. My parents, they allowed me to get 4-H animals, so had a calf, some chickens, and that kind of just grew from there. So I guess like my thing is, putting yourself out there and not being shy. Like I felt like I had to really bust into some kind of cliquish groups. Sometimes if you're new to it, but just knowing who's who, and I attribute a lot of that to what I'm doing today. Is like at that point in my life in 4-H, I was like, who's showing what, where'd their cow come from, and just trying to get to know people and build that relationship and rapport. And I think that helped me be a little bit more of an extrovert than what I would have been otherwise. And then I guess the other piece of that is like all the people that donated time and invested in me, whether that be 4-H leaders or just people in the community or professors. I feel like that has had a tremendous impact on myself, because now I'm looking at like, how can we give back? And so we host high school kids on our operation to work, and I try to get them a little grit. We talk about Cowboy stuff. I mean, these kids these days, it's terrible. And I'm like, man, y'all need some grit. And I tell them how it is. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I'm trying to help you in life. Like, you need, like, you're what you just did right there, you're an idiot. You need to think through this.
Somebody needs to tell you that too, because you should hear it.
Yeah.
Did your feelings get hurt? It's okay. They're supposed to be hurt. Maybe next time you won't do something stupid like that. And so that's the way I see it.
I love that. I think now we're almost in a little echo chamber here, because we're going to have the same perspective mostly on hard work and these kind of things, and which is fine. I think about it like this too. I don't understand skate parks and some certain, like a skateboarder park. I just never did that. I got no way to know it. So somebody listening could feel like we don't appreciate the truth of young people today. I don't want it to be that. It's just we see some things that we can't ignore. You also... Parents used to raise kids. Then public schools raised kids. Now business owners are raising kids. It's like we need to start going back the other direction. Like, how can we start shaving that back to the other direction? And so I say this, but I'm sitting right next to people who are raising their own kids. So actually, you're not waiting on the business to raise them. You're not waiting on the school to raise them. You're raising them. So it's a little bit of a kind of a hypocritical thing I'm talking about. It's not like this is true for everybody,
right?
And that it's never been true in the past. Like, there were kids that didn't know, that weren't really astute in grit and these kind of things, and we're painting it like all this grit and all this is so tough. Actually, I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love a very hard day's work. I love getting home, being sore, all of those things. So don't run away from agriculture because we're painting it like this thing. We also love this thing.
Yeah. I literally, so when we moved back to Texas a couple years ago and we sold our farm in Maryland, we bought a place that we knew we would be in for a little while until we could get another little farm. And we finally maybe have found that, but I literally said to my husband the other day, like, is it weird that I'm really looking forward to manual labor again? Like, I don't enjoy having somebody else take care of my animals for me, or in thinking about raising how I want to raise my kids, I learned so much from the horses depend on me, and I have to get up and be there for them. And I want my kids to do the same thing. I want them to know that it's not about them.
Yes.
It's
easy to make everything about you. I can do it. I'm a 46-year-old man, and I'll be thinking it's all about me sometimes. It's not about me, really. At the end of the day, it's about others, helping others. I set up a little reminder on my phone so it pops up every day, and I look at it. It says, serve others. And that's a good reminder for me to just say, in this conversation here, am I serving others? I hope so. I think there's a chance that people listening, even you as guests in this little booth at this convention, feel like I'm serving you in a way. I'm helping you get the word out in a way. I'm telling you thank you for the work you do. Here's another one, Jacob, back to you. I want a little veteran perspective. It's so valuable. We take for granted the sacrifices made by you, yourself, plus your mom and your whole family, your wives, your children. What's a veteran perspective that you feel you wish other people had a chance to get or have? Is there a piece in there that is, so were you in active duty? So you've been like, you had to take the true statement that you may lay your life down for your country.
Right.
You know, that's
Yep.
that's like, you got to have a giving servant type attitude to do what you did. Am I making that up? Is that real?
No. I mean, it's definitely a commitment. I was in for 6 years. I was an engine mechanic on C-130 aircraft. Deployed, Afghanistan. Had a couple other good deployments. Germany and Puerto Rico. But I think being in agriculture and being a veteran are very similar in the way that such a small percentage of the population, I think it's like less than 1.5% or something is in agriculture. Same thing goes for being in the military, and they're both servant type roles, both very dangerous, honestly. You look at the ag industry, but I think at the end of the day, it's being called to something bigger than yourself, and I think that's what provides joy to me, I know, and then others as well. And the fact that we can work hard every day in order to provide, for really a world population, not to take anything away from being able to provide folks locally or raise our kids, there on a lifestyle. But I think that's the big takeaway is, I think oftentimes in agriculture, we want folks to be appreciative of the hard work that we do and be appreciative of the sacrifices that we make for others. And there's some truth to that. I mean, there's a lot of risk. You got cattle prices as high as they are right now and how much money we got sitting out there. And
you're buying at-risk stockers. I'm like,
yeah.
You're a real gambler.
Oh, man. Well, fortunately, I bought most of them back in the fall, so they weren't as high as they are now. I'm getting ready to sell. So as long as the Black Swan event doesn't come up, I'll have a big old smile on my face here in maybe a month or so. But no, we do want to be appreciative, but at the same time, we do it to serve and help others. And so it's complicated in a way. But, I think the similarities also go to having a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. And I think, that helps being a veteran when you're in agriculture, because it seems like nothing ever goes exactly like you planned it. Yeah, I listened to a guy named Jocko Willink. He talks about just different styles of leadership and his style of leadership and military. Like, people would come to him and be like, the wheels just fell off of this Humvee or whatever. And he's like, good. Now we get to learn how to fix that. He tried to take the perspective. It was always good. It wasn't like, oh shit, bad. Oh crap. What do we go? Good. All right, cool. I'm gonna make some new relationships now. I'm gonna learn how to fix a thing I didn't know how to do. I'm gonna learn how to deal with this problem. I think that's a really good perspective that farmers and ranchers have too. Although probably my granddad and my dad didn't always say good.
Yeah, not a celebration.
Right. They weren't necessarily appreciative, because this thing really delays a bunch of other things. And in farming and ranching, it's this constant feed of stuff that needs to get done. Oh, what else? You said one other thing I wanted to highlight and put a yeehaw on. Oh, it was. Now, I think it's true in pharmaceutical businesses, boot businesses, any kind of business you can think of. The people working in that business want to be able to see how it's bigger than them. I think it's a human trait. We want to be involved in things bigger than us. That's what you're talking about. So every business owner should be considering that with their people, every farmer, rancher. Be sure we paint the picture of how it's bigger than you. It's not just you. It's a big conglomeration of effect farming and ranching has, and American Farmland Trust has. What else y'all want to say? This has been so fun for me. I really appreciate it. Glad to get to know you. Thanks for spending the time here on the Cowboy Perspective, chopping it up about farmland and grazing and perspectives.
Thank you.
Any other thing we need to be sure to tell the people?
I don't know.
Check it out. Get to know American Farmland Trust. So do you put your land in the trust? Is that the deal? So like, I have land. now I want to be involved in this. I'm just wondering, is it
How
really
does-
mostly just resources that you guys are trying to share and help with? But am I going to now sign up for some long-term? So you say the word trust. It makes me picture I'm putting money in a trust for my kids, or I'm putting this land in a trust for. Is that what we're talking about, or no?
So a land trust is an entity that protects the land from future development, right? And
Join
so
Dr.
that's
Dan Hill and Kaylee Griner for a meat cutting demonstration. Just 5 minutes in the demonstration area.
So that's a piece of what American Farmland Trust does. We do work with landowners to protect their land, to protect their legacy, so that they have ownership and say over what happens to their land.
The expo is closing in just 5 minutes. Please, at this time, make your way to the nearest exit.
Is it 6 o'clock? 5 o'clock?
It's 4. I thought it was supposed to be till 6.
I did too. Hey, welcome to being in a convention. Everybody listening, this whole conversation just took a different turn, didn't it? It was
We
like,
gotta
what?
go.
This close the doors, get out of here.
It's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, but basically you've answered my question. There is a scenario in which you're helping us put our land in a trust, so we have a little influence on how it's used in the future.
Right. So basically, an easement will say that this land will stay in agricultural use forever, and it can't be sold and subdivided. It can be sold, but it can't be divided into a bunch of different parcels after that.
Does that diminish does that hurt your land of value in the future? Do you know, is there a piece there that we should educate people on, or that they need to be aware of?
It really depends on the location. If there is significant development pressure, if your property is in the middle of a piece of land where every single farm or ranch around you has already sold and has turned into a subdivision, then that land is very high value, right, for subdivision. And so if you put an easement on it, it would probably diminish the value. I had an easement on our farm in Maryland, and we did not have a lower selling price after when we eventually sold, because it wasn't really
Right.
it wasn't at
next to
high risk
Yeah,
of being
sure.
developed, right? And so it's really place dependent. It might be different county by county, town by town, even neighborhood by
Oh,
neighborhood.
yeah, I could see. I mean, humans are so predictable.
But some land is already best suited for agriculture, and so that land may not see much of a significant change in
Yeah.
value.
I've got people back home that have put their farms and ranches in trusts so
Mhm.
that their kids can't sell it off and subdivide it and that kind of thing. We're a pretty good ways away from this development, but I did empathize with Jacob's statement, like, just come out and buy it and then go back. Like, we don't need more people out here in the country. We're in the country because we want to be in the country.
Yeah, one challenge that we're seeing is they're starting to put high-speed internet out our way, fiber optic, and of course we're like, yeah, that's great, and then we're like, oh, then
Right.
everybody that works remote can then move out here, so it's going to be a challenge.
That's right. Listeners, be educated. Be supportive of your local farmers, ranchers in any way you can. And if you got questions, reach out. We'll put the information to get a hold of these people in the show notes. And heck, call me if you need to know something. Shoot, I'll see what I can do to connect you. Thanks for being here. That's that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.